Hi and welcome back to another episode of Studying the Masters. Today we are dissecting some of Vincent van Gogh's masterpieces and techniques. In this video, I'll be breaking down some of his brilliant color and brush techniques and showing you how he used these elements to produce his iconic painterly style. So watch this video till the end to learn how you can bring some of his techniques into your own painting. Vincent van Gogh was a Dutch post-impressionist painter. His career lasted only about a decade, and in that time he created over 2,000 artworks, including around 860 oil paintings. Wow! In just 10 years. He didn't achieve fame during his lifetime and he struggled with mental health, but today he's one of the most celebrated artists of all time. His work teaches us so much about the expressive power of color, and that's why we are diving deep into it today. Van Gogh's paintings are brilliant, not just because of what he painted, but how he did it. His brushwork and use of color are alive with emotion and energy, and there is so much we can learn by studying his work. Remarkably, it was the last 4 years of his life that he developed the distinctive style we now associate with him, his most prolific and transformative period. His early work consists of mostly still life and depictions of peasant labors. The Potato Eaters was criticized by his brother Theo for its dark palette, which he thought unsuitable for a modern palette. In 1886, he moved to Paris, where he shared an apartment with Theo in Montmartre. He then started at Fernand Coman's studio in order to learn more techniques. In his first 2 years in Paris, Vincent laid the groundwork for his future work, immersing himself in the world of Impressionism. He was deeply influenced by artists like Claude Monet and Camille Pissarro, but also forged lasting friendships with a young generation of innovators like Paul Signac, Toulouse-Lautrec, and Georges Seurat. In 1887, Vincent and Theo befriended Paul Gauguin, who had just arrived in Paris. After 2 years living in Paris, in 1888, Van Gogh moved to Arles in southern France. Once there, his paintings became brighter and more focused on the natural world. He was energized by the countryside and light. He painted local olive groves, wheat fields, and sunflowers. His time in Arles was one of the most prolific periods. He created 200 paintings and over 100 drawings in watercolors. That included some of the most well-known paintings: Starry Night over the Rhone, Café Terrace at Night, Bedroom in Arles, amongst others. In 1889, he left Arles and voluntarily entered an asylum in Saint-Rémy-de-Provence, where he stayed for a year. The clinic and its garden became the main subjects of his paintings. Some of his work from this time are characterized by swells like wheat field with cypresses. He also painted the irises while there. In May 1890, Van Gogh left the clinic in Saint-Rémy to move nearer his brother. After 2 months, his mental illness claimed his life at only 37 years old. Just when his art career was about to take off, his brother Theo dies 6 months later. Like many artists of his time, Vincent was influenced by Japanese print, a fascination that became especially evident in his later works. For example, in this painting, The Haystacks, you can spot the signature characteristics of this influence: bold blocks of pure color, dark outlines, a lack of shadows, unusual cropping, and a distorted sense of perspective. So let's take a closer look at some of his paintings and dissect his techniques. But before that, I just wanted to make sure you stay till the end, because I will show you something that will blow your mind. I'll show you how you can apply Van Gogh's main techniques to your painting. But before that, I need to talk about his work and techniques so that you can understand the exercise at the end. The first painting I'd like to talk about is Starry Night, which is one of his most famous paintings. The scene depicts the view from his asylum window on the upper floor. Notice how Van Gogh's use of swirling brushstrokes creates movement and texture, giving the sky a dreamlike quality. That's beautiful, isn't it? He wasn't afraid to exaggerate colors. Those vibrant blues and yellows work together to create an intense, almost mystical energy. This is a great example of what we call optical mixing. Rather than blending paint smoothly on the palette, he placed contrasting colors side by side. And that creates a beautiful effect that they appear to shimmer and blend when you step back, creating depth and vibrancy. Other great examples of optical mixing are Vincent's self-portraits. See how he used color here in a way that we see complementary colors placed side by side on top of each other, like the greenish color on the background, and there's a dominant color, more muted blue, and then you see dabs of orange, dabs of green, and a lighter orange, and all sorts of, even a pure blue as well. It's a way to create a beautiful contrast, just makes it look more fun. It harmonizes with the warm colors on his skin. It teaches us a lot about the complementary color concept and the optical mixing through complements to create a beautiful color result there. And you see how he used the red colors here on the crease of the eyelid in contrast with the greenish gray underneath, and to create shadows and forms and to make the skin surface turn around. So the eyebrow color, it's more into the green side, while the shadows around the eye, the lines and expression in the eyelid is all red. Also, the colors on his cheeks here, you see bits of red orange and bits of green and different values, but quite consistent with the form and the way he applied the colors on the beard. Strong colors. He was quite sort of ginger haired, so he applied the sort of orange and red color there in contrast with bits of green for the deeper areas in it. The same with his ear and the warm colors, dominant red and orange, and then some bits of green on the shadows. He was influenced by pointillism, which is a technique of painting in which small, distinct dots of color are applied in patterns to form an image. This technique relies on the ability of the eye and mind of the viewer to blend the color spots into a fuller range of tones. Hey, just a quick reminder, if you are enjoying this content so far, it will be a huge help if you hit that like button and subscribe right now, as it really helps us to get our content out there. So another painting that I absolutely love, and it's a very well-known painting, it's Cafe Terrace at Night. Van Gogh uses color not only to create light, but also mood. See how the warm, golden tones of the cafe glow against the deep blues of the night sky? This contrast draws your eye right into the heart of the scene. Van Gogh often used complementary colors like blue and oranges, yellow and purples, because they make each other pop when placed side by side. It's a great technique to try if you want your paintings to have more vibrancy. Van Gogh applied paint quite thickly onto the canvas, building up layers with his sculptural strokes called impasto. This technique gives the painting a tactile quality. You can almost feel the texture just by looking at it. Impasto also catches the light, adding even more richness and dimension to the colors. Van Gogh's impasto technique influenced a lot the way I paint with the palette knife. I love creating the texture, the sculptural quality in my painting. And also I love playing with colors, complementary colors, and that creates an optical mixing when we step back. So the paintings look quite realistic, but when you get close, as you can see the impasto effects. It's a great way to explore the technique and to grow as an artist. If you are a fan of Van Gogh's work, I highly recommend the film Loving Vincent. that, in my opinion, is a masterpiece of its own. This film tells the story of Van Gogh's life, but what makes it truly remarkable is that every single frame of the movie was hand-painted by 125 artists in the style of Van Gogh. Imagine over 65,000 frames, each a painting. Isn't that amazing? And it took them 6 years to complete the movie. It's such an achievement for these artists to create a movie like that, and it all came from a vision by the writer and director, who is also an artist, Dorota Kobiela. It's a stunning tribute to his work, and watching it is like stepping inside of his paintings. If you haven't seen it yet, put it on your list because it's worth it. So now I'm going to show you how you can bring a Van Gogh style into your pictures, how to use some of his key points, his key techniques, and then add a little bit more life and more color to your paintings. It's a bit of an exercise. It's good for you if you want to practice more so you can go through more pictures quickly. And then the pictures that you like, the result, you can just turn it into a painting. I use a clear cover, so I put it on top of the image that I chose, and I'm going to mix some colors and then just alter this picture here for you to see. So let's get started. So these are the colors that I'm going to use. They are oil colors: titanium white, cadmium yellow light, yellow ochre, cadmium red light, quinacridone magenta, and ultramarine blue. So I'm going to start actually mixing the colors. For the clouds, I'm going to add a bit more drama to that sky. So I'm going to mix actually yellow ochre. I also had some cadmium yellow on the palette knife. Probably too much, so just put some of that aside. And then add more white here. Add more white, more magenta, and a little bit of blue. So then here I want to darken it, so just add more blue. So we can split this in two and add more white and blue to mix a darker and bluer color. Van Gogh used red and green, so I might just leave a bit of red and green here in case I need to change this blue if it's too purple. Actually, I'm going to add some now. So it just takes away a bit of the red from the blue. Might do the same here. So this is the brush that I'm going to use, a Filbert Hogg bristle brush, number 0 or number 2. So Van Gogh worked with impasto. Impasto is a technique in which you load your brush quite thickly. So when you apply the paint, you have that sort of thickness, that buttery consistency. See, so I'd go with this here, just a little bit heavier with the light. Remember, this is an exercise. It's good for you to experiment, to create some different design on the images that you have. I'll go here as well, trying to go quite gestural, with my brush strokes, sort of creating movement. Look at some Van Gogh's paintings as well. I have a couple of pictures here to help me translate his style onto my painting. So I'm looking at them just to absorb that style and to inspire me. And then, of course, when I'm painting, I adjust the colors. Sometimes I just pre-mix them here, but I keep working on them as I start to test the colors, see if it's all right. This is fine. I like this. So that can go here. Small dabs of color, small shapes. Then I'm keeping some of that previous color there, which from the background. That can be even another painting if you start that way and then you just change the image from the second layer on. So that's a good way to start with this sort of concept. Ooh, I want to add a bit of that sort of swirl motion to the sky, not as wild as Starry Night or all the pictures by Van Gogh, but just sort of blending my style and Van Gogh's style and trying to see what I can learn from experimenting this year. And you don't have to copy his style completely. You just need to experience it and bring it to your own style. So a bit of depth here, a bit of drama. So I've just added a little bit more ultramarine blue to that mixture And I'm just working a little bit darker here on this corner to create more drama. And I moved back to the previous color as it gets lighter towards the sunlight. I think that's about it with the sky. So now I'm going to start with the hills on the back. So we keep the values quite similar to the original image. We don't mess up with the values. So I'm going to use this blue here with a bit of this quinacridone magenta. And I'm going to bring some of this color. It's like a reflected color from the sky here on the hills. See how just by using this blue here, we create a little bit more harmony with the sky, as well as more depth in the landscape. I'm just going a bit darker here. So you can see several of his paintings. That's how he approached the faraway hills or mountains. Might even go with this color here. The key here with the trees, I like the colors that are already there. So I'm going just to play with the different hues. So I'm going to put a bit of this blue here. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. So it just makes it look more painterly, more fun, more colorful. I'm going to do the same here. Just put some of this darker blues. We're working with contrast. Leaving some of this black color, black-green color here as well, showing through. I might go with a bit of this. So I'm going to do the same here. Just add more color to the shadows, not changing much, and just sort of small strokes. Could even use a smaller brush here, but more like a round brush. But that should be all right. Maybe just some little bits here. Put it here. Add a bit of this white-yellow color, some cadmium, and then a bit of sky color, just to soften it, because those trees are receding. So then we can just highlight here. Again, thick strokes of paint, showing that the light's coming from this side here. Maybe just a little bit at the top here. And then I can change the color to that green field at the back. So I can put a bit more yellow, more white. Yeah, so I'm going to be using this brush now. It's a round brush. So I'm going to use this green. Actually, I'm going to add a little bit of lemon yellow. Cadmium yellow is quite orange. So I might just get a bit of this here to brighten up the green. So there is one thing we see in Van Gogh's painting, and also the Impressionists, the saturation. They increased the saturation of the colors. Ooh, put a bit of that green here. It's actually quite strong. I might add the complementary color to green, which is red. So just get a bit of this here to soften my color. And considering that that field is at the back, so just add a bit of this sky color here. So let's see if it's a bit better. Yes, that's better. Which is something that we saw a lot on the Impressionist paintings. It's not like all the colors are very bright out of the tube. They knew how to create beautiful chromatic grays. If you'd like to know more about chromatic grays and how to mix them, you can check this video here that you can find in my channel. It'll teach you how to mix these beautiful chromatic grays or colored grays. Then I can use some of this color here in other parts and then harmonizing them. So just adding touches of this, and I'll do the same with the purple and the other colors. So I'm just going quickly through this here. If it was the painting already on the canvas, I would just take a bit longer. I'm trying to go a bit more gestural as well, a bit freer. See, so I'm mixing in cadmium red, cadmium yellow, just to mix this brighter orange. So I bring some of this color here. So the grass, the hay color, he used to saturate those colors a little bit more. So we can go this way. We can even go a bit heavier here with more impasto. If I want to knock this back, say I'd use a bit of this sky color, or even a bit of purple, if I had purple like this here mixed up. If I want a lighter value, so I tend to match the same values that I see here. So I'm going to mix a bit of this lilac. So if I mix one that's a little bit more saturated, more white. Yes, to go here. A little bit, just a few strokes here and there. So this is a more yellow-based area, so I'm using the complementary color purple to create higher contrast, to make it look more interesting. So here, the main thing here is to match the value, you know, you need the same value color. So you're not destroying the form, you're juxtaposing some complementary color and creating optical effect. Yeah, I'm doing some here as well. Actually, I can use that same color here, just some little marks. See how it makes the other color pop? It just creates a beautiful stimulus in our eye. So then I'm going to mix a darker color. So I want that to be a bit bluer. So I go here, add a bit of the magenta, and I'll just test my color, see if it suits this. Yeah, that's fine. See, as I change the sky, I'm adding that sort of hue to the hay bales and the grass as well as a reflected color. So I'm enhancing that reflection. Sorolla did that as well on his paintings. Sargent, when he was painting landscapes. So you see that the Impressionist painters wrote all that sort of concept. You know, Van Gogh was learning a lot from Impressionists and the studies from the era, that time. Michel Chevreul with his color theories, Isaac Newton. So that's all happening at the same time, the same century. Put a few marks here, see the brush strokes follow the way I see the hay bale going. Then I wipe the brush, make sure you wipe in brush between colors. So I want a more orange color now. This here, more cadmium, touch of blue just to go more brownish. So then I want more orange color here. So then I'm adding a few strokes of this orange here to make it more colorful. So then I'll do the same here. Just a little bit, maybe less than the other one. And that might be a good color for those dark areas on the grass. Actually, that's too dark. So I'm gonna add more red and yellow ochre. Yeah, that's better. You know, the same here, a bit of the orange, just a few strokes here and there. A little bit more yellow in the mixture and a bit more cadmium red. So that matches this value here. So then more of this yellow. He used a lot of this more vibrant yellow on the hay. Yellows and oranges. So I'm saturating the color, making the color more intense here. My strokes are following the way I see the lines of the picture going. So I'm going to mix a lighter yellow here. I could even use this color. Plus I put a bit of this yellow ochre, cadmium yellow. So probably some strokes here. This is a light area. Even lighter goes up here. Just a few strokes as well. I'm going to use just that same color that I used on those back trees. Add a bit more color to the shadows. So let's see. Yeah, this looks good. Just a few strokes here and there. Then I'll do the same here. Maybe that one could be a little bit lighter because it's not on the foreground. Just again some dabs of color. This one too. So I've just added a bit of cadmium yellow to this color. Some bits here and there. It's kind of mixing, blending to the sort of complement color, so that mix in the eye. As mentioned before, Van Gogh was influenced by the Japanese paints, so you'll see on his work outlines, dark outlines on some areas. So I'll do the same here. Maybe this one. Some of the fields, the paddocks, he worked with a bit of an outlines. Maybe one there. So just go with the highlight a little bit more thickly here. Maybe some little bits of this color on the sky. So here we go. The after See if I can take it off here before. So I hope you enjoyed this, and hopefully you will have a go and try yourself. If you do it, please let me know in the comments how it went and if you enjoyed the process. I've also put together a free PDF to guide you with this exercise. There you will find the bullet points of Van Gogh's technique, the material list and reference image used in this exercise, plus the final painting and a photo of my palette. You can find a link to that in the description area below this video. Van Gogh's legacy lives on because his art transcended mere representation. He was ahead of his time. He used color as a tool to express emotions and create a world of his own. By studying his techniques, you can unlock new possibilities in your own expression, in your own artistic journey. So as you can see, Van Gogh wasn't just painting what he saw, he was painting what he felt. His creative use of color and brushwork is a masterclass in expressive art. I encourage you to try out some of these techniques in your own work. Experiment with impasto, optical mixing, and complementary colors. You might be surprised by how much freedom and excitement these methods bring to your painting. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please check my other videos of this series where I explore techniques used by the great masters. And if you've seen the movie Loving Vincent, let me know in the comments what you thought of the film. See you in the next video and happy painting!